What if I told you that just by listening to this prayer once, your life could begin to change financially, as if a door you didn't even know existed suddenly swung wide open? Today, miracles aren't just stories. They can happen to you, and they can happen now. I want you to imagine waking up tomorrow and finding that financial burdens that have weighed you down for years suddenly begin to lift. Imagine receiving unexpected blessings, opportunities, or provision in ways you never thought possible. Some of you might think this is impossible, but I promise you it is not. In the next few minutes, I will guide you through a powerful prayer that, if received with faith, can attract a financial miracle into your life. Before you scroll away or doubt, let me remind you, this is not about luck. It's about aligning your spirit with God's abundance and unlocking the supernatural flow that has always been available to you. Every word you hear here could be the spark that changes everything. That's why I urge you to stay, focus, and pray along, because your financial breakthrough is waiting on the other side of your faith. Faith is the invisible bridge that connects what we can see with what we cannot. It is the foundation upon which every miracle stands, the quiet force that moves mountains, and the divine key that unlocks doors we never knew existed. When it comes to financial breakthrough, many people look for practical solutions, seeking strategies, business ideas, or quick fixes. While these can help, they are never sufficient without faith. Faith is what transforms ordinary effort into extraordinary results. Faith is what turns the natural into the supernatural. Faith is what allows a single prayer, spoken with conviction, to ripple through the heavens and bring blessings to your doorstep. Imagine a seed lying dormant in the soil. By itself, it cannot grow. It needs sunlight, water, and care. But above all, it needs time and the unseen process of life working within it. In the same way, your financial miracle begins as a seed in your spirit. And faith is the sunlight that nurtures it, the water that nourishes it, and the belief that life is already working on your behalf even when you cannot see the outcome. Many people underestimate faith because they misunderstand it. They think faith is simply believing that something will happen. But true faith is not wishful thinking. True faith is an unwavering certainty, a knowing that the invisible realm is actively moving on your behalf. It is speaking to your situation not as it appears, but as it is in God's plan. When you stand on faith, you are no longer a victim of circumstance. You are no longer waiting helplessly for luck to intervene. You become a channel through which divine provision flows, a magnet for miracles, a vessel ready to receive blessings that have been prepared for you from the beginning of time. Consider the life of someone who has lived in obedience and faith. They do not simply pray for money, they declare God's promises over their life. They speak boldly of abundance and provision. They align every thought, word, and action with the belief that God is their provider. This alignment between spirit and action creates a spiritual resonance. The universe responds not to fear, doubt, or hesitation, but to unwavering faith. When you cultivate this kind of faith, you begin to notice opportunities appearing in places you never imagined. Doors that were once closed start to open. People who never noticed you before now seem to cross your path at exactly the right moment. Resources that seemed out of reach suddenly become available. This is not coincidence. This is the power of faith at work, moving in alignment with divine purpose. Faith also gives you courage to act when the natural circumstances tell you otherwise. There will always be times when your bank account looks empty, when bills pile up, and when the world seems to say no. Faith allows you to say yes anyway. Faith allows you to step out boldly, to invest in ideas, to make decisions guided by spiritual insight rather than fear. Every step taken in faith multiplies your potential for miracle. And it is not faith that demands understanding or proof. Faith does not require that you see the full path. It requires only that you trust the hand of God guiding you. When you embrace this kind of faith, financial miracles are not just possible, they become inevitable. Think of faith as the law of the spiritual universe. Just as gravity works whether you believe in it or not, faith works whether you feel it or not. When you activate faith, you are engaging with a principle that governs the supernatural, a principle that brings provision, favor, and increase. Faith aligns your spirit with the source of all abundance. It positions you to receive, not by your strength, but by the power that moves beyond the limitations of the natural world. Many people struggle financially not because opportunities are absent, but because they have not yet aligned their hearts and minds with the principle of faith. They expect miracles but do not truly believe they deserve them. They desire provision but are unwilling to trust it will come. They pray for blessing but are quick to despair when results do not appear immediately. True faith, however, is patient. It is persistent. It does not waver when the first challenge appears. It understands that the seeds of miracles may take time to grow, and that the process itself is part of God's perfect design. When you cultivate faith, you learn to see beyond the current hardship to the promise that lies ahead. You begin to speak life over your finances, declaring abundance, favor, and prosperity even in the midst of scarcity. This spoken faith is powerful. It resonates in the spiritual realm and sets into motion forces that bring your words into manifestation. Faith is also a magnet. It attracts the right people, resources, and opportunities. Doors open not because of chance, but because faith positions you where blessings can flow. When you step forward in faith, opportunities align with your actions in ways that seem almost miraculous. You begin to recognize the divine appointments that were always meant to guide you to your breakthrough. And it is not enough to have faith only in the moment of need. Faith must be a constant companion. It must be the lens through which you view your finances, your work, your investments, and your life. When you consistently operate in faith, you are not just praying for miracles, you are living in a miraculous mindset. Every decision, every thought, every action becomes infused with the energy of possibility. This is why faith is the most powerful tool you possess. It is not limited by circumstance, by numbers, by debts, or by the opinions of others. Faith transcends the natural. It sees beyond the impossible. It understands that divine provision is always available to those who will believe, and that financial miracles are simply a reflection of the trust you place in the unseen. And here is a truth that cannot be overstated. Faith works most effectively when combined with gratitude. When you thank God for what you do not yet see, you are acknowledging the reality of the miracle in advance. Gratitude opens the heart to receive, strengthens your belief, and amplifies the power of faith. It is the harmony of belief and gratitude that creates a spiritual environment where financial miracles can flourish. Faith, therefore, is not passive. It is not merely wishing or hoping. Faith is an active, living force. It requires courage, commitment, and a willingness to speak life over your circumstances. It is the unseen force that moves the hands of providence on your behalf. When you embrace faith fully, you align yourself with the flow of divine abundance. You position yourself to receive breakthroughs that defy explanation, to experience favor that surpasses understanding, and to live in a reality where financial miracles are not the exception, but the expectation. Faith is the magnet, the key, and the pathway to miracles. Every time you choose to believe, every time you choose to act on that belief, every time you declare abundance in the face of lack, you are stepping into a reality where miracles are not only possible but inevitable. Prayer is not just speaking words into the air. Prayer is the voice of faith, a declaration that your spirit is aligned with God's will, a proclamation that the unseen forces of heaven are at work in your life. Many people pray with hesitation or doubt, thinking that mere words are powerless, that prayer is only a ritual or a habit. But true prayer, prayer declared with conviction, carries authority. It moves the spiritual realm, shifts circumstances, and draws divine provision into the natural world. The power of declared prayer lies not in the repetition of phrases, but in the faith that accompanies each word, in the certainty that what is spoken in alignment with God's promises will manifest. When you pray with declaration, you are not asking God to do what is impossible. You are speaking into existence what God has already made possible. You are aligning your life with the spiritual laws of abundance, with the principles of divine provision, and with the promises that have been waiting for your faith to activate them. Consider the difference between a silent hope and a declared word. Silent hope is fragile, easily shaken by circumstance, easily forgotten when trials come. But declared prayer is bold. It is assertive. It speaks with confidence, as if the miracle has already happened. When you declare provision, favor, and breakthrough over your finances, you are not merely wishing. They are words that carry spiritual power. These words carry the ability to move barriers, to create doors where none existed, and to attract opportunities that were previously unseen. The Bible reminds us that the tongue is a powerful instrument, capable of life and death, capable of blessing and cursing. When your words are combined with faith, they become instruments of life. Every declaration of financial provision, every spoken affirmation of abundance, every confident statement of breakthrough sends a signal to the spiritual realm that you are ready to receive. It positions you as a vessel prepared for the outpouring of miracles. Declared prayer is an act of authority. When you speak a word in faith, you are participating in the work of creation itself. Just as God spoke the world into existence, so too the prayers of faith have the power to shape the circumstances of your life. You are co-creating with the divine, bringing into reality what has already been prepared for you. This is why declared prayer is so effective. It is not a passive request, it is an active command of faith. When you declare abundance over your finances, you are telling the universe, telling your mind, and telling your spirit that lack will no longer have dominion over your life. You are asserting that provision, favor, and opportunity will follow you, that doors will open, and that resources will manifest in alignment with God's plan. Declared prayer also works because it reinforces your faith. When you speak words of blessing and provision, you are reminding your spirit of the truth that has been promised to you. You are training your mind to focus on abundance rather than lack, to focus on possibility rather than limitation, to focus on faith rather than fear. Every declaration strengthens your inner conviction, and every conviction strengthens the spiritual pathway for miracles to flow. Imagine waking up each day declaring the provision that you expect to receive. Imagine speaking over your finances, your work, your opportunities, and your relationships with words of faith and authority. Over time, your environment begins to shift. Situations that once seemed hopeless begin to resolve. Opportunities appear unexpectedly. People come into your life who facilitate growth and success. Resources manifest that you had not even considered. This is the power of declared prayer at work. It works not just because the words themselves have power, but because they are infused with faith, expectation, and alignment with God's will. Declared prayer also transforms your identity. When you speak with authority over your life, you begin to see yourself not as someone waiting for miracles, but as someone who is already positioned to receive them. Your thoughts, emotions, and actions begin to reflect the reality you have declared. You begin to act in ways that invite provision. You begin to take steps toward opportunities that were once hidden. You begin to recognize the divine appointments that are guiding you toward your breakthrough. One of the most remarkable aspects of declared prayer is its ability to shift not only your circumstances but your perception of them. When you pray with declaration, you begin to see beyond immediate obstacles. You begin to recognize solutions where others see problems. You begin to perceive avenues of provision that were previously invisible. Your focus changes from scarcity to abundance, from limitation to possibility, from fear to faith. Declared prayer is also a magnet for collaboration with others. As you speak boldly about the blessings you are stepping into, you inspire others to align with your vision. Opportunities, partnerships, and resources often appear through connections you could not have anticipated. The spiritual law of increase responds to words of faith, and the natural realm begins to reflect the alignment you have established in the spiritual realm. Furthermore, declared prayer is a shield against negativity. Every spoken word of blessing fortifies your spirit against doubt, worry, and fear. It sets a boundary around your faith, protecting it from discouragement, and aligning your mind with expectation rather than anxiety. When challenges arise, your declared prayers act as reminders that miracles are already in motion, that provision is on the way, and that your faith is stronger than any obstacle. The practice of declaring prayer consistently also reinforces the principle of expectation. When you speak regularly, with clarity and conviction, you develop a mindset that expects miracles rather than merely hopes for them. Expectation transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. It is this expectation that attracts divine resources, opens doors that were previously closed, and multiplies opportunities in ways that defy human understanding. Declared prayer is not limited by time, place, or circumstance. Whether you are facing financial pressure, career challenges, or unexpected setbacks, a prayer declared in faith pierces through every barrier. It activates the spiritual principles of increase, favor, and abundance. It reminds the unseen realm that you are ready to receive, that your heart is open, and that your faith is unwavering. And perhaps most importantly, declared prayer invites God's presence into your life in a tangible way. It is in the act of speaking boldly, with expectation, and with authority, that you demonstrate trust and alignment with divine will. The spiritual realm responds not to hesitation, not to doubt, but to faith-filled words that carry the weight of belief. When you declare what is already yours in the Spirit, you are inviting miracles into the natural realm. Your words, spoken in faith, act as seeds. They plant potential in the soil of your life, and as you continue to nurture them with belief, gratitude, and action, they grow into tangible results. The more you practice declared prayer, the more you recognize its power, the more your life begins to change, and the more you understand that the miracles you seek are not distant, They are already within reach, awaiting your faith to activate them. Consistency and expectation are the twin pillars upon which miracles stand. Many people pray once or act in faith once, hoping for a breakthrough, only to grow discouraged when immediate results do not appear. They do not realize that spiritual laws operate in perfect timing and that persistence is often the key that unlocks doors that appear firmly shut. Consistency in faith is not about repetition for its own sake. It is about maintaining alignment with God's promises, continually choosing to trust even when circumstances suggest otherwise, and refusing to let temporary setbacks define your destiny. Imagine the life of a farmer who plants seeds. He does not plant one seed, water it once, and walk away expecting a harvest. He returns day after day, watering, nurturing, and tending the soil, trusting that growth is occurring even when it is invisible. Your financial breakthrough works in exactly the same way. Each act of faith, each declaration of abundance, each prayer spoken with conviction is like watering a seed. You may not immediately see the results, but the unseen forces are working on your behalf. And over time, these seeds will grow into a harvest that exceeds your expectations. Consistency builds faith. The more you consistently speak life over your finances, consistently trust in God's provision, and consistently act in alignment with divine principles, the stronger your faith becomes. Faith is strengthened through repetition and persistence. Every time you choose to believe when doubt whispers, every time you speak boldly when fear threatens, you reinforce your spiritual resilience. This resilience is what positions you to receive miracles that others might miss because they give up too soon. Expectation is the other half of this equation. Expectation is the mindset that believes provision is coming even before it manifests. It is the confident anticipation that what you have declared in prayer is already being orchestrated in the spiritual realm. Without expectation, consistency can become mechanical and lifeless, like performing rituals without connection. But when expectation accompanies consistent faith, every act becomes charged with energy, purpose, and alignment with divine law. Those who live with expectation notice opportunities that others overlook. Doors open where walls once existed. Favor appears in unexpected places. People are led to them who carry the resources, connections, and wisdom necessary for breakthrough. Expectation primes the mind and the spirit to recognize blessings and act upon them. It also transforms patience into power. Waiting can be discouraging, but when expectation is present, waiting becomes an active state of trust rather than passive resignation. You learn to anticipate miracles as if they are already on their way, and this anticipation fuels your actions, your decisions, and your prayers. Consistency and expectation together create a momentum that compounds over time. Small acts of faith, repeated daily, aligned with a mindset of expectation, grow into a force that cannot be ignored by the spiritual realm. Each declaration of provision, each step of obedience, and each act of gratitude adds to the spiritual weight that attracts financial breakthroughs. The greatest miracles often come not as instant transformations, but as the cumulative result of faithful consistency over time. This is why it is so important not to abandon your practice of prayer, declaration, and faith, even if results are not immediately visible. The unseen realm is always working, and persistence ensures that you remain aligned with its flow. Consistency also trains your spirit to remain steady in the face of adversity. Life will test your patience, challenge your faith, and present obstacles that seem insurmountable. Without consistent faith and expectation, it is easy to succumb to despair, fear, or frustration. But when you commit to maintaining a consistent connection with God's promises and a steadfast expectation of breakthrough, you develop a spiritual endurance that allows you to weather every storm. Over time, this endurance transforms into confidence. Confidence not in your own ability to solve problems, but in the certainty that God's provision is unwavering, that miracles are real, and that your financial breakthrough is inevitable. Expectation also aligns your actions with the miracle you are seeking. When you truly expect provision, you begin to act in ways that reflect that expectation. You make decisions with foresight, seize opportunities that align with your vision, and avoid choices that would limit your growth. In this way, expectation does not just prepare your spirit, it prepares your life. Consistency and expectation are further strengthened by gratitude. Every time you acknowledge blessings, even small ones, you reinforce the reality of abundance in your heart. Gratitude reminds your spirit that miracles are already at work, that provision has already begun, and that faith is not in vain. This continuous loop of faith, expectation, action, and gratitude becomes a powerful engine driving you toward financial breakthrough. Many people fail to see miracles because they are inconsistent in their faith or their expectation. They pray sporadically, doubt easily, or give up too soon. But those who persevere, who consistently declare abundance, who expect provision with unwavering certainty, are the ones who experience the fullness of what has been promised. Consistency does not mean perfection. You may falter, doubt, or struggle, but what matters is returning to faith, returning to prayer, and returning to expectation each time. Each return strengthens your alignment with God's abundance and reinforces the spiritual pathways that bring miracles into your life. Expectation keeps your eyes fixed on the prize, even when the natural circumstances suggest impossibility. It trains your heart to anticipate good, to focus on possibilities, and to remain steadfast in trust. When expectation and consistency operate together, they create a powerful synergy. The universe responds to this synergy. Doors open that were previously locked. Opportunities arrive in ways that defy human reasoning. Favor surrounds you as if unseen hands are guiding every step. Each day of consistent faith, each act of expectation, becomes a building block for the miracle that is forming. This principle applies not only to prayer but to your actions, your decisions, and your mindset. Consistency in pursuing excellence, in maintaining integrity, and in honoring the principles of provision amplifies the effect of declared prayer and faith. When expectation is present, every step you take is energized with purpose, aligned with divine timing, and poised for breakthrough. Consider the stories of those who experienced financial miracles. In nearly every case, they did not stumble upon sudden wealth by chance. They walked persistently in faith, prayed consistently, and expected provision even when circumstances were bleak. Their miracles were the natural result of alignment with spiritual principles, nurtured by unwavering consistency and the confident expectation that what God had promised would manifest. The combination of consistent action and persistent expectation is unstoppable. It prepares your spirit to receive, opens the channels for provision, and maintains your focus on the miracle rather than the obstacle. It is a discipline that transforms ordinary prayer into extraordinary results, ordinary effort into divine multiplication, and ordinary faith into a life of miracles. Consistency in faith also teaches patience. It allows you to understand that divine timing is perfect, and that miracles often arrive in ways that are beyond human understanding. While you wait, you remain active in your faith, your prayers, and your declarations, ensuring that when the moment comes, you are fully aligned to receive. Expectation sharpens your spiritual senses. It enables you to recognize opportunities and divine interventions that others overlook. It allows you to see the invisible workings of God and to respond with wisdom and courage. Together, consistency and expectation create a spiritual ecosystem in which financial miracles flourish naturally, as a reflection of the faith, hope, and alignment that you have cultivated day by day.